In return for the care and attention we give them, pets give us the most sincere love there is. In this video, we collected the most heartwarming reunions between pets and their owners after being separated for a long time. Stick around to the very end, you won't regret it. Allow us to begin with the incredibly sentimental footage of this man being greeted by his big, happy family. This young man has been away for a long time, serving his country in the military, and just you look at how he was greeted at home. His rowdy little posse just trampled him on the spot. Nothing can come between a dog and its joy. Not everyone truly understands the bond between a dog and its owner. A pet is a member of the family, not something to make a profit off of. This retriever, Atlas, was stolen from his owner for resale. The man turned to the police for help and put up ads about his disappearance at the same time. His efforts weren't in vain. Look at this reunion. Atlas rocketed straight out of the car into the arms of his beloved owner. An 11-year-old cat named Clyde was reported missing. For 12 long days, 10-year-old Jared had been longing for his beloved furry friend, as having grown up with the cat makes it really difficult to bear another day without him. That day, Jared came home from school with no hope of finding his beloved pet, but what joy awaited him. A neighbor had found Clyde and returned him to his grieving family, safe and sound.
Oh, buddy! She found him! And I went over like...
Pets aren't the only ones who can wholeheartedly love their owners and their families. Even dangerous predators like cheetahs can feel real affection for their caretakers. Dal Volkar, 50, volunteers with the Cheetah Guards in Bloemfontein, South Africa, and describes himself as an animal advocate with a zoology degree. Whatever the case, even after a year of being apart, his pets meet him with more emotion than your average house cat. Cheetahs are far from itty-bitty cute cats though, growling, not purring on their owner's lap. A 28 to 35-inch adult weighs up to 160 pounds. Kudos to Dolph and the work of their nonprofit organization. After all, there are only about 7,000 of these graceful animals left in the world. This unlucky traveler hasn't been home in over 7 months. The boy wasn't even expecting to see and hug his cat. How much joy this reunion brought him. He even cried from happiness. How can you possibly restrain the king of the jungle? It's amazing how he didn't knock his caretaker down. Seeing such a touching reunion between a wild and dangerous predator and a human who haven't seen each other for a long time is heartwarming, especially when it shows complete trust and turns over onto its back. This lion can't help but be joyful and scurry about like a loving dog. This incredible encounter also took place at a sanctuary near Bloemfontein, South Africa. The cheetah Gabriel hadn't seen its caretaker for a year. The man cared for the feline when it was just 10 months old. They hit it off immediately, becoming close friends. Now this cheetah is a young and strong animal. Initially, the caretaker doubted whether Gabriel would remember him, but he was greeted with a satisfied purr and asked to be petted. The cheetah was as affectionate as he was when he was a kitten. Capuchin monkeys, despite their restless nature, also get attached to people and show their love, kind of like children. These monkeys, Xander and Ohana, miss their grandmother very much. Look at how much these babies love her and how much joy, shouting, hugging, and caressing there is. Just heartwarming.
Xander, can we not?
Praise monkeys all you want, what with them being much like humans, but birds can show their love the same way. This parrot, Reba, hasn't been home for 10 days. He got lost in Boston, Massachusetts. The reunion between Reba and his owner, Jordan Herring, is simply amazing. How can so much affection fit into one little bird? A resident of New Orleans had to leave her home for 8 long months. Carrie was looking forward to meeting her pit bull terrier named Dorothy, but she wondered if the dog would remember her. Upon seeing her, Dorothy nearly knocked over the whole couch with joy. any and all doubts in their love gone. This woman used to care for this young foal. When they finally reunited after a long period of time apart, the foal had already become a magnificent stallion named Fritzy. Granted, horses don't show their emotions too much. They don't wag their tails, sweep away everything in their path, or jump on your back. But judging by Fritzy's reaction, this animal is clearly happy to see its former caretaker.
No need to apologize, I'm crying too.
This reunion can move anyone to tears. A monkey crying at the sight of its former caretaker. Just watch how it recognizes her from afar. What love they must share, this wild animal and caretaker, to have such a reaction to seeing each other. Even wolves released into the wild remember those who raised and reared them, which is incredible. One might think that their native environment would have long since changed their character, made them tough and more aggressive, but not this pack. The Dutcher family raised them from a young age, and lo and behold, a year later they decided to visit their pets. These practically wild dogs are letting themselves be pet almost like domestic dogs. But they're not domestic, not one bit. Palettes wouldn't have collectively howled like that in light of such a joyful reunion. This is just incredible footage of the encounter between Kirsty the elephant and a former zookeeper 35 years later. Peter Adams looked after the elephant back in the 1980s at Keller Park Zoo. Unfortunately, it got closed down in August 2003 due to non-payment of a $3 million debt. The park was no longer able to keep its animals. Kirsty had to travel the world until she was left to live out her days at Neunkirchen Zoo in Germany, and Peter lost all contact with her. Of course, Peter's appearance has changed a lot, and he didn't even think the elephant would recognize him, but 52-year-old Kirsty stunned everyone. She couldn't mistake that voice for anyone else's. It turns out that chimpanzees can abandon their young if they are sick. This cute little fella named Limbani got pneumonia as a baby. George and Tanya had to take care of him, and they became his only parents. But time went on, and the now grown chimpanzee was relocated to the Zoological Wildlife Foundation in Florida, USA. Limbani is lucky that his foster family has not forgotten about him. Tanya and George often visit him, and these reunions are so touching that it's impossible to look at their displays of affection without being moved. The relationship between animals and children is always a storm of emotions. And when a pet goes missing, it's always a tragedy for children. What a blessing it is to have pets found. This little boy from Texas was really worried when his dog Cassie went missing just 2 weeks before Christmas. It wasn't until a month later that his mom accidentally found the missing dog. The dog was taken in by other people who kindly returned it at her request. These caring people found Cassie in a heavy snowstorm and took him in. Otherwise, the dog might not have survived. This reunion between the 6-year-old boy and his pet simply can't be explained using words. Just watch.
Keith! Keith! Oh, Keith! I missed you.
A cockatoo is hard to find a home for. Not everyone can get along with its quirks. For this very reason, Tofu had many owners, but he was always given away. This time he ended up in an organization where birds don't get passed from home to home, but because of COVID, the cockatoo still had to be given away to shelters. Fortunately, the former caretaker is now able to visit Tofu. Their happy dancing together conveys their love for each other in the best way possible.
Hi, Tofu! Hi, Tofu! I miss you, my baby boy.
This girl, Sonia, grew up at the Orphaned Wildlife Center in the United States. Since she was a little girl, she was cared for by Jonathan, who at one point had to switch jobs. A long 15 years had passed, and Sonia was finally able to reunite with her former caretaker. Amazingly, not only did Sonia remember Jonathan, but she also remembered the games they used to play. Alan Whitten had the 3 longest days of his life when his friend Mitzi went missing. How a Jack Russell Terrier ended up in this position isn't clear, but what is clear is the happiness they both shared upon being reunited. Shy loves his bunny, Binny, and Binny loves him back. This time Shy came back from a long trip away. Look who met him first. Binny acts like a dog and a cat at the same time, following Shy wherever he goes, allowing himself to be pet and even washing his hair. We'll start with the unbelievable reunion of Wisconsinite Jose Andaverde and his 4-legged friend Chaos. After going through a divorce, Jose lost his home, was living in his car, and had to have a friend take care of Chaos. After 3 months, Andaverde was able to find another home, but Chaos' new owner refused to return the pet. Jose was heartbroken, but it wasn't for nothing that he called his dog Chaos, and the animal's irrepressible energy is worthy of respect. Chaos ran away from his new owner and wandered in search of Jose for 2 years, until an animal services officer found the stray dog on his front porch. Fortunately, Chaos was wearing a collar with an identification number associated with Jose's phone number. Coincidentally, at the very moment Jose was reading an email informing him that Chaos' microchip needed renewing, his phone rang with a call from the county animal services. What happened next is better to just watch.
Baby. Shut. Oh my God.
He's so excited now.
Every animal responds to care with love. Just look at how this camel snuggles up to its owner, hugging him tightly with its neck. By the way, a camel never forgets anything, and when a person wins its trust, it will always take care of them. Judging by this emotional moment, this person has earned both the trust and love of his companion. Are you suffering from a lack of attention? Get a husky. These affectionate dogs will lick you from the bottom of their forever puppy hearts. But if you're away from home often, be prepared for not only an exuberant greeting, but also for your neighbor's praise of your pet's singing ability. After all, as you may know, huskies don't love to bark, but prefer singing solos. And now we'll take a trip to Spain. Here in the town of El Borje in Malaga, an owner had been looking for his donkey for more than 2 months.
¿Qué pasa?
The man was very worried because his pet was due to give birth soon and required special care. How unbelievable but heartwarming it is how the young mother tells her owner about her life without him.
¿Qué?
Not only domestic pets are loyal to their caregivers. For 4 years, Karol Potapov from Yekaterinburg, Russia, had been inseparable from his wolves, Alpha and Ugolek. But when he has to leave, a greeting that would tug at anyone's heartstrings is waiting for him. And these are the big bad wolves? A person can befriend more than just wolves, and this touching meeting between a gorilla and an English scientist is proof of that. Even these intimidating creatures can establish trusting relationships and become an example of true friendship between a person and a wild animal. This Englishman raised the primate from childhood and then returned him to his native Africa. And 5 years later, he was able to visit his foster child. The gorilla not only responded to the man's voice immediately, but after seeing him again, didn't want to let him go. Just 3 weeks were enough for Meraki de Jong and her horses to miss each other. Not even the exhausting 12-hour flight from Brazil to the Netherlands could keep the owner from her long-awaited reunion with her pets. She immediately returned without rest to greet her animals after stepping off her flight. Any animal will be grateful to someone who shows it care and attention, and in return, they give us their devotion and love. And even funny little piglets like to express their love for their owners. Look at how cute this piglet is demanding attention from its guardian. But games alone won't do. The tiny toy also demands kisses. How loyal animals can be. Wildfires in Napa Valley, California brought a lot of destruction, and thousands were left homeless. Many returned to the wreckage of their homes in hopes of finding their pets. Laura Ringenberger was very lucky. Her cat wasn't looking for new shelter, but waiting for her owner right on the ashes. How incredibly touching.
It's okay, kitty. Yes, it's okay.
Some find it hard to pet even a domestic cat, but not Dean Schneider from Switzerland. He's not even afraid of the embrace of a 207-pound lion named Dexter. Take a look at these firm hugs. The wild cat clearly does not want to let go its beloved human, and for good reason. Dean had saved the little lion cub from breeders. He quit a prestigious job, moved to South Africa, and devoted his life to wild animals, truly deserving of a standing ovation. Incredibly, even swans have it in them to miss their caregivers. This bird Kesha was released after being wounded in the wing by poachers, but it can't fly. Kesha lives in the eco-park Medvedy Krai in the city of Kurapol, Russia, and misses its savior greatly whenever he goes on a business trip. And by the way, Kesha doesn't allow anyone else to enter its beautiful, warm little home except for its beloved caregiver. If the noble swan tries only to embrace its guardian in its wings and tell him how bored it was without him, well, that's nothing for Peter the goose. This hooligan even climbed into his owner's lap. Moreover, Peter lovingly pinches her neck, picks at her hair with his beak, and is quite jealous of any competitors. Peter's owner is his alone. We're all familiar with the playful nature of these small capuchin monkeys, but have you seen how strongly they miss members of the family they call their own? This little girl named Zoe hasn't seen her grandmother for a whole week. Such an emotional reunion.
Oh my God!
The owner and his dog had never been apart for a single day, but one day he had to leave for a short while. The reaction of his pet was not long in coming. Maybe only now the owner realizes exactly how much his dog loves him and needs him and his attention. its home. Do you have any similar stories of helping an animal in need? Let us know in the comments. This baby capuchin hadn't seen his best friend for quite some time and missed him very much. Just look at these embraces and games they play together. They are really a good match.
Happy kisses. That was sweet.
And here's another heartwarming story of a lost cat reunited with its owner. This girl had already given up hope of ever seeing her beloved pet again when she was handed a bag with a rather unusual gift